All right, welcome back. We are in Photoshop and our Photoshop textbook, Adobe Photoshop CC for Digital Photographers by Kelby. And we're starting work on this one on page 310, working the basic controls for working with video. The panel where almost everything video related happens is called the timeline, and we talked about that in our last session. You'll see that timeline down here. Most video editors are based on this same idea because it's a very visual way to put together a movie. You build your movie from left to right, just like you would a slideshow where the first thumbnail is the first slide, then the next one to the right of it is the second, and so on. The same thing goes with this video, except of course that the thumbnails are videos. Take 2 minutes now to learn the timeline panel and its basic controls, and it'll make your video editing a lot easier. So step 1, you can play, rewind, and fast forward your video in Photoshop just like you would in any other video player using the standard rewind, which is go to the previous frame. And if you hold your cursor over there, typically it will give you the tooltips. This is go to the previous frame, play, and fast forward, or go to the next frame. And go to the next frame, sorry. However, there's a rewind to the beginning icon. It's actually the go to first frame icon that you'll wind up using quite a bit. It's the first icon just to the left of rewind. All right, now we're going to click the down facing arrow in the top right of the timeline panel. And from the layout, or from the flyout menu, we're going to choose Enable Timeline Shortcut Keys. And I already have mine checked. To turn on your shortcuts for the panel, there's a great shortcut you can use to play your video. If you just hit your space bar, the video will start, and you can hit it again to stop it. To jump to the beginning of the individual clip that is currently selected, we're going to press the up arrow key. To jump to the end of that clip, we're going to press the down arrow key. And you can put your playhead at any spot. To move your playhead to any spot you want it in the timeline, just click once up at the top of the timeline, right where you want it to be, where the seconds are listed, and the playhead immediately jumps to that spot. Now, if you know you want your movie to be a specific length, like maybe 30 or 60 seconds for a commercial or 90 seconds for a promo movie, you can keep from having to scroll back and forth down your timeline by setting up your work area to display just that amount of time from the very beginning. You do that by dragging the little Set Start of Work Area bar at the beginning of the timeline. Or the Set End of Work Area bar at the end of the timeline. That way, when your playhead hits the end of your work area, after playing for 30 seconds, it stops. It doesn't just keep playing nothing. All right, also, if you want to work on just a part of a longer video, then you can drag the Set Start of Work Area to the beginning of that part, and then drag the end to that end of that area. Now when you click play, it starts where you set the start of your work area and stops where you set the end. So let's go here. You'll see she has a different dirty sock in her mouth now. What do you want? What do you want? Huh? What do you want? What do you guys want? What do you want? All right. And then there are some other shortcuts you might want to use once you really dig into this. But for now, I'll just concentrate on those ones I've given you because they're the ones you'll use every time you make a movie. Just in case you need them, though, here are a few more. To jump back 1 frame, press the left arrow key. Add the shift key to jump back 10 frames. To jump to the end of the, if you want to use the right arrow, then that jumps forward 1 frame. And if you add the shift key, that will jump another 10 frames. To jump to the end of your timeline, you're going to press the end key on your keyboard. To jump back 1 second at a time, place shift up arrow key. And then to jump forward 1 second, press the shift down arrow key. Again, you may never use those, but at least you know they're there. All right, we're step 5 on page 312. There's some other important things you'll want to know about the timeline panel. One is that you can change the size of the thumbnails by dragging the size slider at the bottom. I think we've done that before, but just in case. When I do that, I lose a playhead, so I'm gonna, there it is. There's a start and finish of the playhead, just in case I wanted to move that back. We can do that. Dragging it again to the left makes the thumbnail smaller. Dragging it to the right makes it larger. The advantage of choosing a smaller thumbnail is that you'll see more of your movie in the timeline without scrolling. Of course, it helps you have the eyes of a 14-year-old because if you're any older, you're probably going to need bifocals. Yeah, I definitely understand that. All right, so rearranging the order of clips. There are 2 ways to change the order of your clips in the play. You can drag and drop the clips in the order you want right there in the timeline. Or you can change the order over in the layers panel. They stack from bottom being the first clip to play, the bottom being the first clip to play, to the top. So just drag and drop the layers into the order you want the clips to play. Now if you want to see a quick preview of any part of your video, you can just grab the playhead, and as you drag it right or left across your video, it plays a preview of the video that's below it. Where is the playhead? Jesse, Georgia, you want my plate? You want what's on my? You don't hear any audio, you can just see the video. This is called scrubbing in Videoland, and he says they have a secret code name for everything. This is a huge time saver, and you'll find yourself scrubbing over clips quite a bit. Step 7, you know that the flyout menu at the top right corner of the timeline panel. If you ever can't remember the shortcut to do something, you can find almost anything here. Also, by default, Photoshop uses its regular keyboard shortcuts for everything. So for example, if you have the Move tool active and you press the up or down key on the keyboard, it will move your clip up or down on screen. However, if you turn on the Enable Timeline Shortcut keys, as we did in Step 2, obviously, then it uses the shortcuts mentioned in that step. So now the up arrow key jumps you to the beginning of the currently selected clip, and the down arrow jumps you to the end of that clip. There's a little right-facing triangle at the end of each video clip. Go here. And by clicking on it, it brings up a setting dialog with more options for the clip. For example, you can use the set the duration in the video settings here. So if the clip needed to be 4 minutes exactly, you could set it to 4 minutes exactly by dragging the slider or by simply entering 4 minutes here. There's also a speed control. If you click the music note icon at the top, that gives you the audio options for the clip. All right, now the next exercise we're going to edit our clips. So I will be back in just a moment and we'll work on page 314 to trim our clips. And I'll be back in just a moment.